So tonight I'm working on the rear main seal again. This time I'm using the tool. I'm making this tool that Mercedes says to make for cutting off. Use the self-made template, 30 millimeters wide, 150 millimeters long, and a 9x9 square hole in the middle. And so I just had some 1 millimeter thick sheet metal and just took a hacksaw and cut this out. It's 150 millimeters long, 30 millimeters wide. I'm just going to file down the edges. Got some files here, and then I'm going to drill a hole and then file it into a square, and that's what they recommend doing. And they say that, probably should have this book over there. Let's see, they say that the square center line should be 15 millimeters from the end of the tool. So I'm just going to make that, and we're going to see what how that works. So I just need to drill a hole somewhere right in here, and they say 9 millimeter by 9 millimeter square. So I looked up the metric conversion, and let's see, this is a 11/32 is 8.74 millimeter. So I figure I'd drill it 11/32 and then just square off the edges. We'll see how this works. All right, I've drilled the hole here, and once I had the hole drilled, I have this little, it's like a triangular shaped file, which allowed me to file it a little larger into the square that's needed. And here's one of the seals that are ruined. Let's see if I can hold the camera here. And the seal goes right in there now, and then gives you a perfect 1-inch area. So when it's laying here on the engine like that, to slice off, and you can hold everything steady while you do it. That's what Mercedes says to do. This is the tool they say to make. And also, one of the forum members showed me how you can use a flapper wheel. Let's see, this is a 120 grit flapper wheel, and just hit the edges of the razor blade, and it should cut easier, because you can't cut one of these ropes with a regular razor blade. So I did that. Let's see if I can get this camera here. I'm going to turn the camera around. There we go. I'm going to do it like this. Alright, that's all I'm doing. And let me get this to stay up here, and let's see if it'll cut now. Oh, there we go. Cuts right through it now. And we're left with, look, that's a solid. Perfect. There's how. So that's how you do this. I'm going to see if I can get, let's see if I can now put in a seal and cut it the right way using this tool and the sharpened razor blade. I want to stress the importance of using this tool. This is a Mercedes front crank seal alignment tool, and it's the exact shape of the rear seal, and you put it in there and you tap around there with a hammer, and it taps everything in perfect. So there we go. Whoops. So that's in there. Now I just got to cut that using my makeshift or my Mercedes tool that I just made. So let's try that. So this tool, I've got to slide over here without screwing up the seal. And okay, look at that. Goes around there perfect. There we go. That's how that works. There's the tool, and then they say to cut it off with the razor blade. Now I'm not about to do this on camera because I don't want to mess this up. So I'll do it and then show the results. All I'm going to do is go up there and start sawing across there. That's how you do it. When you have the right tool, it works absolutely perfect. So with this tool and then the flapper wheel that I showed you, and then that, there it is right there, that front seal tool, I put that seal in 4 minutes, and it's done and it's perfect. You can see how everything's exactly 1 millimeter above the block, and they both have perfect cuts on them. I'm just going to show that right there. So I'm going to cut from the inside to the outside. Let's see, I'm going to hold this in place, and I'm just going to start slicing back and forth. And actually, I'm going to turn my little template around. There we go. I like it better like that. There we go. That way I'm going to cut outwards. Just hold this down. There you go, it's just cutting right through it. I don't know how well you guys can see that. Alright, there we go. Whoops. Sorry about that. This is, I don't have the right equipment to be recording this. Alright, there we go. 1 millimeter above the surface. See, there you can see it there. And there you go. That's how you do it. Jumping all around today. Just at the point where I'm reinstalling the piston oil squirters, and these are crucial. The way these work, let's see, let me go here. It's in the lubrication section here, and I'm just going to get to the, yeah, here's the oil squirter right here. They're very specific about the nozzles. Don't switch them up. Don't try to bore them out. Just blow some compressed air through them. Tighten them down to 10 Newton meters. The way these are directed, that squirts straight up into that little hole. So the squirter is positioned where it squirts straight up into that hole, and then it drains back out of that hole, and it goes up into the piston and actually cools it. So if these are bent or clogged up, you're going to quickly have premature engine failure, because these are not going to cool and just going to screw things up. But yeah, like I said, each one, see how I've got it numbered? This came out of piston 4. They're lined up perfectly to squirt right into the piston. And it squirts up there, goes around the piston, and then drains back out. So really cool how they designed that. So I'm just going to blow these out with compressed air, and then put them in here and tighten them to 10 Newton meters. What we got going on today is cleaning out the carbon buildup down in the pockets where the pre-chambers sit. You can see all that gunk down in there, and I'm just using a little flathead screwdriver, and I can break it up, and it comes off little chunks of carbon, and then I'm hitting it with the parts washer. You can see I already did this one down. Let's see if I can get the light. These down here are pretty clean. There we go. So I'm just going down each one and cleaning that up. Here's an example of what comes out of there. Go. See the gunk built up on the end of this. Let's see if I can get the focus on my hand. There we go. See it there? It's just some gunk built up down inside these pockets. And yep, down in there. You can see where I'm scraping it off. Just a little update. I'm just taking apart the taking the valves out to inspect everything, and just for no apparent reason I've numbered these, 1 through 10, just because I want to keep them together and like to put things back the way they came. Also, I'm gonna clean out the carbon deposits in the what's it called, glow plug, little glow plug chambers. And to do that, let me see if I can open this with one hand. You can use this little glow plug reaming tool. See, it's a just has some edges on it, and basically what you do, for example, there's a hole right there. Probably a bunch of junk up in there. Let's see. So you just stick it in there. Oh wow, this one has a bunch of gunk in it. And anyway, you screw it in there. I don't have my, I'll show a video on that later. But you can already see I barely put that in there, and it already started to scrape. Here, let me see if I can get this to focus. I don't know why these damn cameras won't focus. There you go. See the carbon deposits that are already on there? And you can feel it when you screw it in there. It bites and it starts scraping everything off. So I'll do a better video on that later. Back to the head. Once you get the, these are the lock nuts. Once you do it, when you're doing a valve adjustment, you have your special wrenches, and you set the clearance, and then you tighten down the lock nut to hold it in place. Some people call this one the lock nut and that one for setting the clearance, whatever. It does the same thing. But then once you get the lock nut off, you can just use a 14 millimeter and remove. There you go. That's the spring retainer, and it has the nut, and see there's a little groove in the valve, and there's this little doohickey. It's like a specialized, it's a retainer, it's a spring retainer. Anyway, those go together, and like I said, I'm just keeping all my stuff together because I want the valves and everything to, I want everything to go back together the way it came apart. It's just best to do that when, anyway, like I said, just put it on there, and oh, that valve's actually spinning. So I'll probably have to hold this still while that unscrews. Anyway, you guys get the idea. I'll show you the valves once I get them taken out. You guys can see this, but this is the one right here that was spinning when I put the drill on it. And just get some channel locks and just hold the retainer. So this is the spring retainer right here, and you can just put it in the channel locks like that and hold it still while you're unscrewing the nut. And because it has this little, see the little tab right there, the little tang, that goes into the top of the valve, so it won't spin if you're holding this still. And let's try that again. And then it just comes right off. So let's see, that was number 7. So once that's off, you can remove your spring. And like I said, you can remove the spring at that point. So that was number 7. Let me just put this stuff back together here. There we go. I like to keep it together. I just numbered them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But the reason I'm doing this is to get to these guys. Wow, that one's on there good. That's your valve stem seal. And the valve, let's see if I can get this off. That's going to have to come off at like a, let me try those channel locks. Wow, that thing is cooked on there. That thing is on there. But I'm replacing all the valve stem seals because that's, that's 40 years old. It's just going to be dried out. And I'll show you what the replacements look like. There's one for the exhaust and one for the intake. Let's see if I can find them in here. Put them down in this box. Here they are. Bam. All right. Let me close this back up. So we have a pack of components assembled in Germany from components of Italy. So Mussolini and Hitler were working together on these right here. Or I guess their children were. Okay, maybe that was a bad joke. So let me cut this open. Alright, I'm going to put the camera down for a second so I can cut this. Alright, what we have here are some valve stem seals. Now I think the green is the intake and the metal covered one is the exhaust. Yeah, because one gets hot and the other doesn't. But you can see there's the difference in the size of the holes too. So the exhaust valves have a little bit bigger hole. And that little spring, it'll let it stretch and then come back around and seal up against the valve stem. And prevent oil from, I guess, leaking down in there. Yeah, I would say leaking down in there. You don't want oil leaking into your valve. So that's what I'm doing right now, and I'll show you when I get these all put back on there. A few of these removed. See how they're different colors: green, black, black, green, green, black. So you can tell, for example, I just pulled this as number 5, 1 being at the front of the engine, but the exhaust, if I go to number 6, here's an exhaust. Look at that one. Filthy. And I've noticed all the exhausts are filthy and the intakes are clean. Let's show another couple of these. So let's see here. 10, 9, 8, 7. Number 7 is an exhaust. Let's look at that one. Yeah, filthy. Let's compare number 7 to number 8, which is an intake. Look how clean that is. So that's kind of cool. Just showing you guys what I'm discovering. I've never done this before. And there we go. I'm going to take the rest of these out and then clean up the valves. And then I've got this gasket under here. Like in that area, it's like just baked on there and it half ripped off and half stayed there. So I really got to clean that up. And then going to really clean up inside. Let's see. That's an exhaust and that's an exhaust, but look at the intake. Super clean. So exhaust is like wet and sludgy. And then the intakes are clean. I'm just going to clean all that up. And then I'm going to ream out over here on the other side the glow plug holes. Noticed, looks like there is a valve spring seat. See if I can take one of these off. There we go. Okay, it's multiple pieces. That spins in there. It's multiple pieces. So I don't know anything about these yet. I'm just going to put that back for now. And I'm going to get to that later. One last thing. I wanted to review how to... These are really tough to get off there. And the reason is, basically what I do is I just have a screwdriver and I pry up against the side of it and just work it off there real slowly. And what's going on is on the inside there's a little lip. You can kind of see the little lip right there. And it mates up with the lip right there. You can see there's clearly like a little groove in there. And that groove, so the lip of this pops over the top and goes into that groove. And so you got to pry them out of that groove. The exhaust being the most difficult. Gosh, this one's already been off and I can't even... Let's see. Here you go. This is how I've been doing it. There we go. That one was already off and it was still hard to get off there. See if you can see. See the little lip? So there's, I don't know, a couple of millimeters in. There's a groove that fits right into that groove. So when I put the new ones back on, here's the new ones. Let's see if you can see the groove better in these. Oh, sorry, here we go. You know what? That looks like a different part. There's a very pronounced, you can see it perfect right there, very pronounced groove. And this replacement part has a metal sleeve on it. The groove looks a little different on this one. Probably just a different design, but looks heavier duty because it's got a metal. The outside of this one's metal, and it's not on this one. It's some sort of hard rubber. But this is the Mercedes part here, which lasts 40 years. So, I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, I'll keep you all updated. Love this thing. Back in my early videos, I show where I found it for 50 bucks on Craigslist. But, dude, look, this thing looks amazing now. All the carbon, it's still wet, has some solvent on it. That's what that wet spot is, or the wetness you see on it. But all the carbon came off. It looks like it's got a little bit of a rusty spot there. It's rough to the touch. But that's the underside of the valve. I don't really think that matters. But yeah, this thing's great. Just cleaned it up beautifully. And yeah, there's some sort of black coating, or that's where it was exposed to the combustion chamber. But I think it's a black coating because you can see it. Or yeah, I think that's that's probably where it was exposed to the combustion chamber. But yeah, that's going to be just fine. I love when you can clean up old parts and they look brand new again. Let's compare it to one of the other exhaust valves. So this is what it, this is, oh, that's the intake. Intake. There we go. This is what we were dealing with, this cruddy old thing. But yeah, it just cleans up great. So I'm going to clean these up and put them back in the engine. And I'm going to do a little research to see if it's worth changing the springs. I'm used to working, with race car springs, or like hot rod springs, like in a GTO, and those springs are so heavy, like super heavy. You can't really compress them with your hand. But these Mercedes springs are like, I can move that with my hand. They're so dinky. But yeah, the engine was only 100 horsepower. And those hot rods, that's 620 horsepower. So huge difference in engine design. But yeah, these springs are so lightweight. And like in these cars, I have dual springs. I have a spring on the outside and a spring on the inside. And this Mercedes just has this dinky little spring on it. So I'm going to research to see if you should change a 40-year-old intake or exhaust valve spring. Anyway, more videos to come. Well, I really wasn't going to do much more on this tonight, but I did take all the valves through the parts washer. And let me turn on the light. And they look really great. See how nice they cleaned up. Let's see, for example, I think number 7 was one of those really, really dirty exhaust valves. And look how clean it is now. So, yeah, these are definitely going to get all reused. And I'll keep you updated on the next video.